Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Rose Simard joining us here again. Yes, she's our coach from Calgary, but working with people all over the world. Excited to talk more about those going through divorce, needing help with finances, emotional resiliency, you name it, she can help you. So first and foremost, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners today?
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Really glad to be here. So I'm a trained divorce mediator and divorce financial specialist, but I kind of consider myself a part strategist, part educator, and part financial therapist all in one. Because what I do is I empower my clients to negotiate their divorce with financial savvy and emotional resilience, which you mentioned, are just so important. And, I got into this work because I realized so many people suffer unnecessarily through their divorces, both emotionally and financially, all because there's a traditional and very adversarial family law system. So my mission is to change that by empowering my clients with the right tools and mindset so they can actually be happy even after.
Perfect. Well, would you mind telling us the website and Facebook page, how we can find you?
Awesome. Yeah, my website is caimcoaching.com, and CAIM is spelled CAIM, and then coaching, COACHING.com. And my Facebook, which is a free group, is called Divorce by Design, Empowered Endings, and great resources. I've got over 1,200 people in there that are learning day by day what it takes to get through divorce with the least amount of pain as possible.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Let me start off by asking you to describe yourself and what you do. I mean, you kind of gave us that little background of it, but do you want to talk a little about your journey and your mission?
Yeah, so I got into this work coincidentally through friends of mine. I'm not divorced myself, and I bring that interesting that perspective to it because I don't get triggered, I don't get emotional, when I'm working with clients, but I have a financial background. So my whole adult life is either on the lending or the investment side, and that is really my forte and where I help my clients the most because their divorce should not cost a big part of their savings. So it can be very, very affordable. So like I said, I'm really a combination. I'm also a collaborative divorce professional. So I have training in the collaborative law circle. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst, and I'm actually a conflict management coach as well. And I have certification in that. So I have quite a few accreditations and backgrounds to help people in every facet of divorce.
Got it. Well, we're excited that you're here. And I know today you want to talk a little bit about, first and foremost, the moment everything changed, you said, in the way you help people going through divorce, right?
Yeah, and that's because I started as a mediator and I was only working with people in the capacity of a mediator. And then I had this couple that actually came to me. They had separated when their daughter was only 5 months old, and they came to me 18 months later after having spent $160,000 in legal fees, and their daughter then was almost 2 years old. And what I actually realized from their situation that there's so much misinformation and fear, which is creates that
Yep.
chaos, creates that expense. And so for this couple, at first they hired really tough lawyers. They thought they had to lawyer up. But after 18 months of meetings and failed negotiations, they actually had nothing to show for the money that they were going through. And they had this daughter, they had significant assets and thought, I can afford a lawyer. This is going to help protect it. But then when they saw that dwindling, seeing how much their legal battle was costing them, it wasn't actually only just draining their finances, but it was leaving emotional scars for them. Remember, their daughter was 5 months old. And at this point, she was almost 2 years old when they came to me. And, the husband actually told me I saved lives because at that point, he thought he would have to walk away from his daughter. He didn't concede, having any possibility of having a co-parenting relationship with the mom, right, with the daughter, and after all that. But I worked with them, and over 6 months, it got them to resolution and saved them even more, like more than $10,000s in additional legal fees, right? And I did, instead of focusing on the money, right, and what they were trying to do, I got them to focus on what mattered most and was trying to keep at least a civil co-parenting relationship for their daughter, right? And through mediation, they started sorting out their finances. But I also gave them those conflict skills, how to manage those difficult conversations with each other. So what's interesting is the husband kept saying, can you talk to her? Can you tell her that? And I'm like, I'm not actually helping you if I do that. I don't communicate because your daughter's 2 years old. You have another 16. You have a lifetime connected to her. You need to learn how you're going to communicate with her, right? So that was the game changer. And they both realized that they weren't just saving money, but they were actually saving their ability to work together as parents. And I'm actually written into their separation agreement, believe it or not, because if they have any issues, they come back to me to work that out.
Oh,
Specifically, my name is actually in the separation agreement.
wow. That speaks volumes. Wow. That is
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
great that you're able to help them. And such a shame that people do go through all this expense. Like you said, what was 160,000 their legal fees were before? I mean,
Yeah.
and some people do more, less, but still that's money out of your pocket, your children's pocket. It's not worth it. So this is
Mhm.
great. Look at
Yeah.
you helping people. All
Yeah.
right. I love
And
it.
And so, and just to go back, like at that moment, I realized there's a lot of people who can't get their spouses to mediation. There's a
Hmm.
lot of people because, like this couple, they went the lawyer route first, and only as a last ditch effort did they even consider mediation. So then I'm like, okay, I need to change things. That
Yeah.
if people believe that mediation can't work for them, there has to be another viable
Yeah.
option for them other than lawyers. And that's what
Hmm.
really got me going, doing the things that I'm doing, like for the individuals as well as couples now.
Got it. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So, my goodness. So, you saved and have been saving couples tens of thousands of dollars to preserve their co-parenting relationships again by choosing mediation over litigation. I love that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, so no drama divorce, right?
Yeah,
Do you want to
it's
share a little
true.
bit about
It
this?
is
Yeah.
true. It is true. So, I'm one that likes, I have this creative side to me. And so I really like naming things. I really like designing things. I really like, making something of really high value. And one of the things I did is try to figure out what are 3 different ways I can, help people. Because I only have 40 hours in a week, a work week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we all
Yep.
have the same amount of time. How can I scale this? How can I reach more people? How can I help more people without costing them a fortune? So what I did is I created a membership, which gives everybody the facts. And I called it the No Drama Divorce Collective, right? It's a monthly membership that ensures clients aren't held hostage by what they don't know. So there's no one-to-one with me, but it's all the information they need in order to understand what the divorce
Mm-hmm.
process looks like from start to finish. And even if they have a lawyer or not, it's going to help them save thousands in lawyer fees because instead of relying on their lawyers for basic
Yeah.
information, they're, paying a small monthly fee to understand all that and be as efficiently, manage their divorce as efficiently as possible. And then the next thing that I do is the individuals, right? This is really where I put most of my efforts in now. And I
Yep.
call that the art of divorce, right? And it's for individuals whose spouses will not participate, but they
Ah,
still want to move through divorce the right way, right? They still want to be kind. They want to still have integrity. They want to make sure that they come out the other side not more damaged or more broke than when they started. And then my mediation is always a main part of my business as well. And I call that divorce with dignity. And ultimately, it's couples who want to navigate divorce with grace and respect and avoid really expensive legal fees so they can maximize their actual money, put their kids through university and post-secondary education instead of paying their lawyers kids education.
oh my goodness. I like this art of divorce. Now, hold on. Someone's out there listening right now. Just curious, do you offer an initial discovery session with someone?
I do. I do. Actually, all my initial discovery sessions are free. I do 15-minute calls and I'll do an actual consultation as well. So they're all free. They can check those out. There's booking links on my website at caimcoaching.com. So
Okay.
CAIMCoaching.com. There are links there that they could book a free call. So, and just, even no commitment, right? Just a matter
Yeah.
of like finding out what you don't know sometimes
Hmm.
can be very, very helpful.
All right. And what about this divorce with dignity?
Well, that's actually the same. It's on my website as well. So that's my mediation program, right? For
Got
couples who
it.
are willing to work together. So, but today I really want to concentrate on the art of divorce, right? Because a lot of people
Sure.
think that if they have a high conflict spouse or potentially a narcissistic spouse that's showing those traits, they think that lawyers are the only option,
Hmm.
right? So what I really want people to understand that you need to have a unique perspective. It's a multifaceted approach if you're dealing with a high conflict person, as well as a narcissistic personality. And there's a few misconceptions that I would love to share if that's okay.
Please, absolutely.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to back up and say why this is so important. So, and a lot of people think, I can't get along, and that's why we're actually getting divorced. It's true. Every
Hmm.
divorce is going to have a level of conflict. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you that if you think that because there's conflict, you can't do this on your own, I just want you to think again, because if you think you're going to have this high conflict divorce, or you're dealing with a narcissistic personality traits, right?
Yeah.
Those, being aware of those and understanding different alternatives, it will actually potentially be ultimately destructive in your divorce. It's going to
Right.
like ruin your finances and ruin you
Hmm.
personally. So take
Yep.
that, right? So I hear a lot of people say, like, you know what, I can't do this. Lawyers know best. I'm going to put all my trust in lawyers.
Yep.
But the thing is, if you rely solely on lawyers, I do get it. They are legal pros. We are, conditioned to think that lawyers are going to protect us. They know what's right, but they might not actually tune in what's best for you and your financial goals, right? They
Yep.
know the law in a broad spectrum
Yep.
based on training people on case law, other people's situations similar to yours, not
Yep.
be coaching you directly on your situation, right? So it could tick all the legal boxes if you're dealing with a lawyer, but it could actually affect your long-term happiness, your independence, and what your finances look like in the future, right? So, which is, that's not what anybody ever wants to hear. And I don't mean to scare people. I just want people to know before they get in so deep and think, I wish I had known something different, right? That's what I
Yep.
hear all the time. I wish I'd known you, Rose, like 5 years ago. I wish I had heard about you. I wish your group had been around there. And this is, I wish, I wish, I wish, right? And so that's why I'm there. It's never too late to pivot, right? It's never too late if you're in a contentious divorce to maybe rethink, just like that couple did. They came to mediation, right? If what you're doing is not working, open up, see what alternatives are out there. And there are alternatives, right?
Ooh, absolutely. Well, let's remind everyone how we can reach out to you before we continue.
Awesome. So they can join my free Facebook group at Divorce by
Okay.
Design, Empowered Endings. So it's on Facebook, or check out my website at caimcoaching.com. And CAIM is CAIM coaching.com.
Okay.
And just a little tidbit that people go, what is CAIM, right? They think it's the word calm. It actually is pronounced CAIM, so I'm doing it really
Oh,
slowly. And it's
okay.
actually a Gaelic term, and it means sanctuary. And it's actually a pagan ritual where people, when they're in a stressful situation, like they're looking for protection, it's a way for them to actually work on their own protection.
Yep.
So ritual is about drawing an invisible circle around
Hmm.
yourself, which is your safe zone, right? And you have it very tight and you're protecting yourself in those stressful circumstances. So when I found that word, I was just like, yes,
That's it.
that is so, that's exactly what I want to create for my clients, a sanctuary, a safe space that they can go through this, and minimize the negative impact of divorce.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. And also for today, did you want to talk a little bit about you and a little more insight to you and some of the obstacles you've overcome as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not divorced. And so I had this preconception, right? That I will say, I had this imposter syndrome, right?
Hmm.
About that. And I was just kind of thinking, going, I really don't understand what people are going through. But then what I
Yeah.
realized was interesting is that if not me, who, right? People need to have these other chances, right? So, I'm just going to hear. And then I was thinking about this going, but you know what? I don't think there's a single person, whether you've been divorced or not, that has not been impacted by divorce. I
Yeah.
have a sister who's gone through divorce. I have a mother who's ended two relationships. And my father passed away, but that was not a healthy relationship. And then she got in with my stepfather. Being Catholic, they won't ever go for a divorce, right? So they had that, but there is that separation. And I realized by their experiences that things were not good. And I don't know if my sister will love me sharing this, but and maybe she'll never hear this. But what was interesting is she actually checked all the boxes. They did, they went through mediation, they did all things. But what they actually realized, it was 8 years later when their daughter went from being 8 to 16. That's when everything on how they actually dealt with the divorce reared its head, right? And so if you can go through it properly and you become a role model for your kids, showing them how they can be, how to work through actually problems, how to work through conflict, how to show respect even in the face of something like, someone that you don't love anymore, that you can't be with anymore. And they just stuffed everything down emotionally. And then again, it wasn't really bad, but you have to understand that we're all role models. We all like people learn from actions, not from what we say. So then I started realizing, going for myself, it doesn't matter whether I've been through divorce or not. If you're a parent, we all have worried about our kids' futures, right? I've got 3 kids of my own, and you do work through this, and that's the biggest thing around people, getting divorced, is the impact on kids. And so I was just like, okay, I've got this. I can help people. I don't get triggered, and I really stay even keeled. And I even have a question when I work with clients on how hard I can push them. And I say that, and I say it in a really, really kind way. I said it's meant to get you the information that you actually need, right? When I see that you're getting caught up either in the drama, you're getting caught up in the details that will not matter, in the future, how do you want me to help you see the light, right? And a lot of people are like, as a 10, but because I asked them at the beginning of the process, they're okay when I start calling them out and telling them you're veering off, right? You told me this was really important to you, like how, why are you doing this, or why are you deciding this? And so people get back grounded. So those are all the same techniques I use with my kids, I use with myself. They're all like personal skills, right? About building, our resiliency throughout.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, also, just to remind everyone, if you are tuning in, you're like, who's she talking to? Well, our friend is here. Yeah, she's back today, Rose Simard, and we're so excited to have her talking about all the coaching she can do and help you, obviously, with the divorce process. And I know the no drama divorce, art of divorce. You say, spend less, share more, start fresh. And I know for today, you also wanted to talk, well, today's what, the 20th, right? So it's really about the high conflict divorce.
Yeah.
And what else did you want to, add for today, and share some of the other common problems that you do see?
Yeah, I see a lot of people like when people lawyer up, right? One of their spouses lawyer up, the first thing they think about is like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to court. Like now I'm afraid, right? There's this fear
Yeah.
component when you lawyer up. And that threat or fear is what blinds people from those smoother options, from thinking that, okay, just because you hired a lawyer doesn't mean I have to do exactly what you did, right?
Yeah.
And in all reality, that fear is that less than 5% of divorce cases even end up in court. So
Yeah.
that fear like controls the whole process when they're not likely to even get in there. So it blocks them from thinking that maybe they can actually do some direct negotiations, because not everything has to be handled by a lawyer. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
can do some mediation. Not everything has to be handled by a mediator or by lawyers, right? Or maybe a collaborative divorce is something that they want to make sure that that they're productive when they're meeting together. And all those things can save people time, money, and a lot of stress. There are different ways of getting divorced, and you can, again, look at different multifacets, right? And those alternatives are meant to keep things as civil and friendly as possible, and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that, you don't get stressed out. You're not burning bridges that you can't recover from, especially if you have kids and you're co-parenting. And so what also I hear over and over again, I can't handle this without a lawyer, right? Lawyers know
Mm-hmm.
best, lawyers know the law, but you actually have to understand too that your mindset when you start your divorce is going to play a really pivotal role. And if you're thinking on the outside that I can't handle this without a lawyer, that could actually be extra damaging to your self-confidence because it undermines it, right? It leads you to feeling helpless and dependent on others. And that could be obviously sometimes very detrimental if you can't make decisions going, oh, I need help to do this. So the sad part about divorce, it's such a disempowering process, the way the traditional system is. So we need to flip that story. We need to flip that narrative and get people empowered and understanding what's in their control as opposed to focusing what's not in their control, right? And that leads to people going, I'm too emotional, right? I can't make good decisions. This is so hard. I would probably say every third or fourth person I talk to, I actually tell them to take a deep breath, and you do not have to jump into the divorce proceedings. They're like, oh, like, don't I have to, like, there's no timeline, there's nothing you can do. And I'm like, and if they're really, really distraught, and I'm like, you know what, the best thing you could do is go work on your well-being, go work with a coach, go work with a therapist for a few weeks, and then come back to the divorce process. Because trying to manage both at the same time is really, really hard. And it's going to just drag out, and it's going to make everything more expensive. And how can you? None of us make really good decisions when we're emotional, right? We make decisions out of reaction, like, as opposed to thinking ahead, right? We're like, oh, I don't want ever to be in this situation again, but that's not a healthy perspective, right? And the results, the outcomes are not going to be good if you're thinking, I'm too emotional. So take your time. There is no race. There is no specific timeline for any type of divorce. If your spouse is pushing you along, you know what? You can put the pause on. You can let them work with their lawyer, spend their money with a lawyer, but you don't always have to respond to everything. And, you can't put it off for years or anything like that. And that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm thinking like a 60, 90-day window so that you are in a better mindset. Is divorce ever easy? No, but it doesn't have to always be messy, right? It doesn't have to. And that mindset, if you're like emotional, you're going to brace yourself for conflict. You're going to always potentially turning every interaction contentious because you're not prepared to have a conversation. You're emotional. Both of you are triggering each other. And I will tell you, we all have spouses or partners that trigger us at one time or another. And it's even worse in divorce, right? Because you're thinking, I want something different, but you still have to figure out what those triggers are, right? So that you don't shut down those cooperative pathways, the things that are going to make the process easier as opposed to tougher than it needs to be.
Got it. Wow. All right. We still have 5 minutes left in the show. There's still more to go. What
I
else do you want to
know.
make sure we cover for today? This is good.
Yeah, sorry, I had to have a drink there.
Go ahead. I'm doing the same.
Yeah, so what's very, very interesting is high conflict people, and everyone's so quick to label their spouses as narcissists or high conflict people. And I don't know what it is about it, but it's very, very interesting. There's a book, and I have it in my background, but it's about this thick, and it's about narcissists and the law, right? And you read through this, and people are like, I can't do this. I can't have a civilized divorce. I can't negotiate. You can never negotiate with a high conflict person who's a narcissist. I'm like, but you actually can, and you have to. Because at some point, every divorce is a negotiation. And if you don't look at it as a negotiation, you're going to think, well, I can't negotiate with them. And so I'm going to have to end up going to court and leaving the decision making to the judge. Again, less than 5% of cases go to court. And, it's super, super expensive to go to court. So I just want to warn people, like, even if you believe your spouse is a high conflict person or narcissist, you can't keep considering other options, okay? There are other options, even if it's just to decide on a parenting schedule. Maybe if it's just to decide on, how to deal with one part of it. Build momentum, work on different things. Start with mediation or the collaborative divorce process instead of using those as a last resort, okay? Because if you don't and come back, because not everyone's going to do resort, because what I see is like, I'm so invested with my lawyer, I can't afford any other help, right? But I'm like, before you get really invested and spend all that money, look for other alternatives, right? Because It's going to cost you solely relying on lawyers because you're never going to be open. You're never going to have respectful communication. It's just going to increase both tension and duration because
Mhm.
you're never having any direct communication. You're not learning a new skill set. You're not learning how to actually manage these difficult conversations. So unless you plan on hiring your lawyer for the rest of your life or while your kids are like still under your care or anything like that, you've got
Okay.
to find a way to work without lawyers.
Mhm.
And the worst part of dealing with a narcissist or high conflict person is that people are led to believe that a lawyer will actually protect them from their spouse. But
Mm.
nobody can protect you from the spouse, right? Lawyers can tell you what the law says. Lawyers can communicate and negotiate on your behalf. But really, at the end of the day, the only person that can make decisions is you, okay, about
Yeah.
and how you want what you want out of the situation. If you don't communicate that to your lawyer, how are they going to do that for you? But
True.
ultimately, it's either you or it's going to be a judge that's making decisions. So the sooner you get informed, the sooner you empower yourself to say, I'm
Mhm.
have to work through this no matter how hard it is, that's actually what's going to protect you from your spouse, right? Because they're always going to going. And the thing is, high conflicts
Yeah.
people, narcissists, they actually use the family law system to continue the abuse. Okay. They're not looking for resolution, to be honest, right?
Mhm.
They are going to keep using the system, right? And their focus,
Yeah.
because their focus is to win at any cost, they would rather pay a lawyer than give their money to their spouse, right? And if that's the case, you don't want all your money to go to a lawyer just to protect your money.
Yeah.
So you see the difference there, like the whole thing of it. Let that's your spouse waste their money on lawyers, but there are different ways you can manage and triage so that your lawyer doesn't get put in there because or doesn't you're not solely relying on your lawyer because in those cases the only winners are the lawyers, right? If your spouse
Mhm.
is willing to win at any cost or they will ruin you no matter what, they're going to waste their share. Don't waste your share,
Yep.
okay, on lawyers, right? And again, I've mentioned this a few times already today. Dealing with a high conflict spouse and a narcissistic spouse involves a multi-step process that not actually only deals the emotional toll of divorce, the communication, the conflict part, but
Got
also
it.
the financial toll, right? Save your money, save your sanity.
Mhm.
Divorce coach that specializes in high conflict divorces and
Got
divorce finances. You honestly, it's not about I can't afford it. It's like you
Mhm.
actually cannot afford to not to.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, we are
Yeah.
out of time. Would you mind
Awesome.
sharing how we could contact you?
Yeah, so check out my website, caimcoaching.com, CAIM coaching.com, or my free Facebook group, Divorce by Design, Empowered Endings. And my phone number, if you want to text me or contact me directly, is 403-975-5530.
All right. Thank you so much for today. Wow, we got a lot accomplished and some great points. And thanks for sharing all this. And are we back again next week?
I don't think so. I
Oh,
think
is
this
this our
is,
last or?
yes, it was. Yes, it
Oh, okay.
is. Scheduled. It's the
Oh,
last
thank you so
schedule.
much. So let's just
Yes.
say till next time then. Thank you
Awesome.
for everything. This is
Great.
exciting. And
Thank you,
hopefully
Jill.
we'll connect again soon. And please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.